Hey guys, I'm Mark, and today I want to go over some of the tomato varieties that I'm going to be growing this year. I'm going to be growing 49 different kinds of tomatoes this year. I've got 80 plants in the ground right now. So I think I'm going to, for a purpose of time, break this video into two videos. I'm going to do 11 of my varieties are what I would call like snacking tomatoes. So this video is going to be about like the snacking tomatoes, like the grape tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, pretty much things that are like smaller than a golf ball. And then the other video I'm going to do is going to be about basically everything else. So I guess I'll start with explaining that this bed, the bed and the other two beds to my right here are mostly where my cherry tomatoes are, or grape tomatoes, or the snacking tomatoes. So I'm just going to go over each one and tell you a little bit about it. I've got some marigolds planted in here and some peppers as well. So every little speck of green that you see in here is not a tomato plant. Only 8 of these are tomato plants. But I planted the marigolds in here because apparently they thwart nematodes. They keep nematodes away. My grandmother used to always put marigolds near tomatoes, and I thought it was just sort of like a old-fashioned kind of thing, but apparently they keep nematodes away, because what the nematodes will do is chew on the tomato roots, which makes like an opening or an invitation for verticillium wilt, and fusarium wilt and things like that to enter into the cambium of the tomato plant. So I'm going to go through each one here. I guess I'll start with, let's knock out, we're going to do garden peach because that's not quite a cherry tomato. It's a little bit bigger, but that's the first one here. This last bed on the end, I've got a few of the larger varieties mixed in, and then everything on from there on out is a smaller tomato. But garden peach is going to be interesting, I think, for me this year because it's actually a little bit fuzzy. I've never grown like one of the fuzzy tomatoes before, so I'm excited to see how that turns out. Like I say, that's new for this year. Let's see. Cosmos, that's going to be like one of those anthocyanin type tomatoes that's got a lot of the, like when the sun hits it, it'll turn it black in certain areas, and it's going to be like a cool speckle effect. That's, again, a little bit larger, I guess, than a golf ball, but it's in this bed, so I'll just tell you what that is anyway. Sweet Million, Old Standard. Sweet Million and like Super Sweet 100, I think I use pretty much interchangeable. They're a very similar plant. If you like just a red standard cherry tomato, like a little bit smaller than a ping pong ball, then Sweet Million or Super Sweet 100 would be a good choice. Let's see. Purple Russian, again, a little bit bigger. I keep throwing in these ones that are a little bit bigger than what I said the video would be about, but Purple Russian's almost like a plum tomato size. Almost, from looking at it, it's a new one I've never grown this year, but the size of it is similar to like a plum, or the shape of it's similar to a plum, maybe a little bit like a smaller plum. Anyway, we'll go around to the other side. Hey Holly, I got my four-legged gardener here. Blush. This is a new one this year. Now we're going to get into like the cherry tomato category, right? Yeah, I think so. Blush is a new one for me this year. A buddy of mine, Dave, recommended that I grow this, and he said to me, he said, Mark, Blush, this one's going to be just as good as your sun sugar that you like so much, which is a bold statement, but I'm willing to take his word for it, so here it is, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. It's a little bit like a really long grape tomato is what it looks like, and it's yellow, and it's got like it's got a blush to it. It's got like a pink blush, like some pink striations in there. Oh, thanks a lot. You gotta walk on all the beds all the time. Come on. Let's see. What else? Okay, Sugary. Sugary is an AAS winner that I haven't grown yet. We sell this plant, but I've never grown this cultivar yet. It's a grape tomato, just a standard looking grape tomato, but it's got like a really interesting little teeny tiny point on the end of it, like where the blossom falls off. Apparently the sugar content on it is really high, so I'm interested to see how that one turns out. Oh, let's see. And that's it for small tomatoes in this bed. So we'll start off here. I got 2 plants on this bed. We'll start off 5-Star Grape. 5-Star Grape is a wonderful tomato. I gave this one to my dad about 2 years ago, and it like started taking over half of his yard. It was so vigorous. So he's gotten it last year and then again this year, just because it's such a powerhouse of a plant. So I planted 2 of them. As far as grape tomatoes go, I've noticed this one just keeps producing into the season, later into the season. A lot of grape tomatoes, and really cherry tomatoes in general, seem to kind of seem to sort of fizzle out a little bit towards late season in my experience when compared to like the larger slicer varieties. But this one, for whatever reason, just keeps on going. So I'm a huge fan of that. It doesn't crack or split much at all either, which is great. Sparky Xsl. That's a new variety. It's called XSL for extended shelf life. So it kind of speaks for itself. It sticks around a little bit longer before it rots. My oldest brother, really likes this one a lot. He says it's got like a lower acid type flavor, one that he really likes. It's got some streaking to it. If you look closely at the skin, it's not like a solid red. It's like solid red, and it's got a little bit of like yellow streaking into it. So it's a really cool like marbled color. And then speaking of marbled color ones, this is probably one of my favorite as far as flavor goes. This is called Isis Candy. Yeah, it's got a weird name, but I don't really care what the name is. I care about what it tastes like. So Isis Candy, one of the best ones out there as far as flavor goes. It's not like all sugar. It's a little bit more balanced of a flavor. And again, it's like yellow. It's like a marbled sort of color. It's yellow and it's got a little bit of pink blushing to it. So I think I grew 4 of those this year just because I like it so much. As far as like the small cherries go, I only grew, I think 19 plants out of 80. Out of 80 plants, 19 plants are going to be the little tiny small ones, just because they take so long for me to pick. Like if I'm going to pick 10 pounds of slicer tomatoes versus 10 pounds of cherry tomatoes, I mean, we're talking about a huge amount of time difference that it takes to harvest. So basically I think I'm growing 11 different kinds of the small ones this year. I guess if I had to classify them as something, I'm growing 11 small ones this year, and that's really only because I want to trial out some new varieties, and then I definitely want to have some of the my favorites, like I say, the Isis Candy, and then on the end, Sun Sugar. I grew 4 of those as well, I think, because Sun Sugar is one that's like, if you like sugar, it's almost like sickening sweet. It is so sweet. By and large, last year when I was growing out my cherry tomatoes and we had a bunch of people coming through and trialing them and tasting them and walking through the garden for the first year, this was the one that everybody, it seems to be the team favorite. Sun Sugar, just a regular gold yellow tomato, and it is like sugar. It is very sweet. I mentioned Super Sweet 100 before when I was talking about Sweet Million, which I think is right there. Yeah. The Super Sweet 100s right here, they're pretty similar. I grew these 2 varieties side by side last year, and I just want to do it again this year just to have really good accuracy in my notes. But that's a fun one. Always a good variety. Let me walk around the other side. I think that's it variety-wise for this bed, but there might be something else on this side. I haven't memorized yet where they all are. I will eventually, I think, get to know them or memorize them by heart, by location, but I'm not quite there yet. Yeah, that's it for there. That's all the varieties there. This is the last and final bed where I've got the small snacker tomatoes. I really just want to say cherry tomatoes, but that's not really a fair way to classify them. A lot of these tomatoes can't really be classified. It's hard to lump things into a category. So that's my category, is small snacking tomatoes and then everything else. We'll just call it that. But anyway, Sun Peach, tried this one for the first time last year. Excellent tomato. It's like a Brandywine or a German Johnson kind of color to it. A little bit like a pinkish rosy kind of color. It's not really red, but it's got like a little bit of a smoky flavor to it. Excellent tomato. Super productive. I got 2 of those plants this year. Black cherry. I haven't grown this for several years, but I remember it very well. I grew chocolate cherry last year, and I wasn't as happy with the chocolate cherry as what I remember the black cherry to be. The black cherry is a little bit more of like a purple in color, and I don't know if it's just me and just like a visual thing, but I tend to like prefer the more purpler ones than like the more brown skin looking ones. I think that they have more of like a bit of a fruitier flavor to them almost. But that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. But black cherry, looking forward to having that one again. Here's some more Sun Sugars, 2 more of those. And then Sun Gold. Sun Gold is very similar to Sun Sugar. It's almost like indiscernible, like it's hard to tell the difference between the two. So I'm going to grow them side by side and see how they turn out, and have several people try them out and let me know what they think is the difference, if they can spot any. Let's see, and then 2 more Isis candies, and that's it for that. That's it as far as small snacking tomatoes go. But I did want to mention while I was down here, I guess I want to mention this bed over here because it's looking so good, and it's probably in frame over the course of this video. But this is just my lettuce and my onions and the strawberry bed that I did a video on earlier, and it's looking pretty good now. I threw some lettuce plants in there just to take up space in the interim while the strawberries are starting to grow out and the onions are getting bigger. I haven't mulched it yet. I'm going to use grass clippings like what's on that big bed over there. I'm going to mulch this in with those. It's been more than a couple weeks now since I planted this, and the weeds are just starting to kind of come through, including some tomato plants. Actually, a lot of tomato plants from last year. This bed had tomatoes in it. So I would like to kind of save some. If I'd like to do a lot of things, but I think these are just going to get pulled up with the rest of the weeds. Anyway, so that's my video on small snacking tomatoes and the ones that I'm going to be doing this year. I hope you guys follow me throughout the season. I'm going to do some updates on it, and you'll get to kind of see how they go going forward. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.